Victoria producing the program. She will not be watching the Masters on Thursday and Friday or this weekend.
No.
That much we know.
Yeah.
That much we know. She might accidentally place a wager on it, but she will not be watching it at all. I don't know the level of interest in the Masters in LeVelle Moton, but I do know that he is bringing one of his besties to town at the end of May, as Mike Tomlin, Steelers head coach, will be here the 30th and 31st for a next up conference, the 30th and 31st here in Raleigh. This was your opportunity to make him come here as opposed to you going to training camp, right?
100%, absolutely.
So what is I know what it's about right. Helping young black coaches get involved and stay not involved, but advance in basketball. Explain to me what you're trying to get, what you're trying to get across here, and why Mike is so good to help you do it.
Basically, we all know there's an underrepresentation of not only black but minority coaches, in the world of sports, right? You look across the NFL, it's a rarity to have a black coach as a head coach. You look across college basketball, we're getting better, but it's pretty much a rarity. And so part of the problem, to rectify the problem, is just familiarity, right? A lot of people would like to believe that there's a discrimination and, things, ugly terms such as that go into play. And I'm not ever going to deny any of those things, but a lot of it is just, Adam, it's lack of familiarity.
Sure.
Right? ADs, search firms, decision makers, presidents, deputy ADs. In order to make a decision, it's not about whether or not you win basketball games or how well you fare in your conference or in the tournament. It's really about, do they know you? And so we're doing a seminar or a conference, an event where we can get, the top 24 coaches on the men's and women's side. And we're calling it Next Up because these candidates are deemed as the next up to go run a program or the next up in line to go get a higher job and, get a promotion or whatever it may be. And not only that, we're bringing them to the table, but we're bringing these search firms. We're bringing athletic directors from across the country. We're bringing deputy athletic directors from across the country because they'll be next up in line also to get their job. So now they can spend a day and have a mixer and a social and some speed dating and just get to know these potential candidates outside of a resume or outside Twitter or outside just seeing them on social media or on television and hearing about them. And, years ago there was an event that Nike created called the Villa 7.
Okay. And
it was for the top assistant coaches in the country. And it was very similar to what I just described. And some of those assistant coaches that benefited was Kevin Keats, Shaka Smart, Anthony Grant, Will Wade, right? At the time, they was, quote, unquote, considered to be the next up in the who's who of the top assistant coaches in the country. And they went and met with these ADs, and 2 or 3 years later, I can't think of the gentleman's name, but he hired Kevin at UNCW, and then Shaka was hired at VCU, and Will was hired at VCU, and, the list goes on and on. So it's basically a model that's already kind of been in place, and we're just directing it and pinpointing it for blacks and minorities.
LeVelle Moton is joining us here. Sounds like an amazing opportunity for them. And also, it's going to be fun for you because this is your wheelhouse, right? I am curious, if you had won, you played Iowa State in the NCAA tournament. Probably your best team got a 14 seed. Yeah, if you had won that game, and you told me before the tournament, I don't want them, and then you got them, but if you had won that game, how do you think, just getting there wasn't enough, being a 14 seed from the MEAC wasn't enough, but if you had won that game, how do you think that would have been viewed, and what might it have done?
I think, number one, I think it would have put HBCU basketball on the map, right? Because, a couple of years, well, not a couple of years ago, it's been like 20 plus years, but Fang was almost there to get the first HBCU to the Sweet 16, right? And so we've had upsets, but we haven't had 2 of them where people are really taking us seriously and considering us someone who just don't have a Cinderella outfit on or a Cinderella slipper on, so to speak. So I just think that game would have notoriety and publicity to not only our program but just HBCU basketball and the brand and quality of basketball that we play. And I just felt like that was the team to do it. Like you said before the tournament, 2 weeks before the selection committee, I was watching Kansas and Iowa State play on ESPN, just laying in my bed, and I was like, wow, like, that team is really, really good.
Yeah.
They might be the best team in the nation. They just create so many matchup problems for you. And so after we won our MEAC tournament, I was just laying in the bed thinking, like, I don't want to play two teams because they'll cause a matchup problem, and that was Louisville and Iowa State. And Greg Gumbel says, okay, the Eagles of North Carolina Central will travel to San Antonio and take on the Cyclones of Iowa State. I was like, oh. So it was a great first half, and then they just kind of wore us down at the end. But I just thought that was my best team, and they were just bigger, faster, and stronger at the point guard position. They were just so old in the backcourt.
Yep.
And they had George Ning. He was a problem, a matchup problem for us at the center position. And so I think he ended up hurting his foot, and that kind of hindered them as the tournament progressed. But it was a great experience for us, but life would be truly different, I'm sure, right? Because now you got to entertain the ideas and the offers that come along with it.
That only come if you win that game. They don't come if you they don't care about, you've just been like cranking out championships at Central forever. It's got to be more frustrating for you than it is for me, but I know you're in a pretty good spot right now. So let me ask you about some other things. I saw this news item yesterday. I'm fascinated by it. I hope that at least we'll get an interview. Lindsey Harding, who was named the NBA G League Coach of the Year, is going to interview, or at least the Hornets asked for permission to interview her for their head coaching vacancy. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm all for it, man. Like, I'm all for it. Like, I'm just all for finding the best candidate that fits the program or the organization, right? And sometimes that's going to come in the form of a man, and sometimes that's going to come in the form of a woman, right? And so I just think in 2024, we got to be open to the idea. Lindsey was an extraordinary basketball player, right? And so, look, the goal is still 10 feet. The floor is 94 by 50. And, it's 5 people on one floor versus 5 people on the other team. So it's never going to change, right? And so basketball is not that complicated. Obviously, I love watching the women's game because they do it the right way. And I don't mean that to be disrespectful to us in our men's game, but sometimes we kind of out-athlete the assignment, right? We can kind of out-jump the assignment. We can kind of out-quick the assignment. The beauty of the women's game that can never be duplicated is that they do it the right way. And it just looks beautiful. It's a beautiful brand of basketball. So to give her an opportunity on the men's side, I'm all for that. You have a lot of guys that, just if you want to get to an athlete, the person that can strike a chord to them even more than anyone else, their mother. Yep. Right? So sometimes it's that woman's voice, right? That needs to be heard. And, they bring a nurturing, tight relationship to the table. And to be honest, Adam, like, the game has changed and evolved so much that you can't have the old school form and tough love of coaching that you once had. So these guys, everybody say they're a little softer or whatever, but I just think times have changed so much. I wouldn't call it soft. I just say they need to be nurtured a little more. They need a little more attention. And sometimes a woman's voice can spark that and spark it and ignite that energy into someone.
I would love to see her because, I always have these social experiments in my brain and how people deal with it. People's heads, like sports fans' heads will explode. They won't know how. Obviously, if she were to be hired, it's because she can coach basketball. And she has proven that she can coach basketball. But they will, a lot of people will not give her the credit for that. I'm curious. I know that what Dawn Staley has done over the last several years is nothing short of amazing. 38-0 this year with a lot of new players. Just incredible what she did. A couple of 2 or 3 freshmen that play huge roles. Do you think she would ever entertain being a men's coach?
she's a good friend, and I've spoken to her about it one time, and she it's just not her passion, right? It's not that she wouldn't do it. I don't think she wants to do it, right? It's a lot of times as coaches, it's not just about coaching. It's just where our heart and passion lies, and there's nothing more incredible. Championships are great. Please don't get me wrong, but
Right.
changing and impacting the lives of young people, like that's what I'm in it for. And there's nothing greater than that. There's no greater satisfaction and gratitude that the world can offer when you're fulfilling your purpose and walking in that purpose and seeing the instant gratification of having that purpose triggered, because
Right.
you're affecting and impacting the lives of young people. So I don't think she has an interest in going up there, right?
Well, I don't blame her.
Niele Ivey from Notre Dame, incredible coach, incredible player. She took a year or two and went to the Memphis Grizzlies, and she loved it, right? With the work with
Right.
John Morant. Then she went back and got the Notre Dame job. So to each his own, right? At the end of the day, pro basketball is pro basketball. Is really, really cutthroat. Ain't no 7-8 year deals up there. It's like, look, if your best player walk in that gym or walk in the front office and say, look, I don't like my coach no more, then
Right.
it's changing. And ownership has changed in the NBA and the WNBA, I assume. But in the NBA, these owners aren't as basketball savvy, right? Like they're these tech guys who ended up making a killing, and so they just running them and operating a business, and it's worth $2 billion, and they just trying to figure out how to get it to $8 billion.
Right.
They ain't interested in winning championships and things of that nature. So the basketball aspect has kind of been left out of it a little bit, and it's just become a place, and it's being operated just like a business. So that kind of scares coaches on our level, to enter that equation.
Yeah, I was even thinking if I was joking around with a friend of mine yesterday. LeVelle Moton is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. That Kentucky should call Dawn Staley. Now, we were sort of joking, and maybe Kentucky would not be the right place. Maybe it might not be the right place for anybody, to be perfectly honest, based on that fan base. But the more I thought about the idea of Dawn taking not just that job, but any job as a men's basketball coach, the more I think that it might actually do more harm to the women's game than she could help a men's program. Because right now, women's basketball is the hottest thing going.
Yeah.
And she is one of the shining lights of it. And for her to almost create the image that the men's game was more of a challenge for her might set the women's game back. So I hope that she stays, and I hope we get more crossover. Men coaching, women coaching men, men coaching women. I hope we get more of that. But I think she should stay.
No, I love it. Right, I think she should stay too, because she's the face of women's basketball, right? And so for a while it was, Cheryl Miller, and then it was, Louisiana Tech and their run, and then it was Cynthia Cooper and the Houston Comets, right, at that time. And then it was Teresa, and then it was back to Gino, and then it was Pat Summitt. And, so it's almost like you have these pockets of each generation that has their run. I think now it's the Dawn Staley show, right? And she's the face of women's basketball, and she's carrying that torch the same way Magic and Bird carried the torch for the NBA in the 80s. Right, and I think it's a beautiful thing. She's played basketball all her life. There's only two things you can do. You're either gonna play man or you're gonna play zone. So basketball is not that hard, right? And so just one of my favorite movies of all time was Wildcats with Goldie Hawn. Right? And you see how she turned that football like it was just the craziest thing. You see how they just rallied around her. I'm just telling you, there's power in women, man. When they are around men, men just naturally. Women just have a toll over men that can bring some things out of them that they probably didn't know they had as well, right? And as well as men coaches. So everyone has their special gift, but I just think she needs to remain on the women's side if she wants to, because she's the face and she's carrying that torch, and it's so many younger generation of kids on the women's side that's coming up that need her in that platform.
Yeah, she is amazing. She's not afraid to speak her mind. We can agree or disagree with what she said about trans athletes, whatever. But I appreciate the fact that she is unafraid of being true to herself and being who she is. And that, I think, speaks to all people. Final thing, I haven't even asked you about last night. My quick read on the game was Purdue looked like they had the game the way they wanted it to be played for like the first 12 or so minutes. And then once it became UConn's style, a little bit quicker, that was always going to happen.
Yeah, I thought Purdue had a great run. I text Matt, like, he's a great guy. You know, we've worked at USA Basketball together, so he's an outstanding coach. I thought they had a great run. I thought, you know, one of the limitations on their team was just their ability. They got to go to Edie every time.
Right.
And that sounds good, but against great teams, man, that can really just score the basketball, you need other people that can step up. And yeah, I think Edie had 37 or something like that.
Yeah, another monster game. Yeah.
Right, and they only had 1 3-point field goal. Right, and that's their thing. So UConn's game plan was to let Edie play one-on-one. And the thing is, like, he'll hurt you, but he'll hurt you slowly. Right, and you look up. Yeah, if he makes 25 buckets, that means it's going to be 50 points. But they're 2-pointers. Meanwhile, Connecticut is coming on this end, and they're going to hit a 3 every 2 or 3 possessions. And so, you know, according to my math, 3 is always more than 2. And now you look up, and they up 9. Now they up 12. They up 14. Yep. And so now you can't come back from that 12, 14-point deficit by constantly just making 2s because they apply so much pressure on you. And now they get up and extend, and they're so athletic, and they just wear you down. It's been, the entire year for UConn, it's just been a war of attrition. Like, when they go to their bench, they actually get better, almost in a sense, and the floor opens. So they just got guys that's bought in. Danny's done an outstanding job, and, you know, from start to finish, I thought they were the best team in the country.
I did too. I thought there was a big gap between them, and I thought Purdue was probably the best, second best team in the country all year. I thought there was a huge gap between those two teams. I thought State did a very good job at defending Edie, sending the double team. If they just make a couple of more shots and put some scoreboard pressure on them, we might have seen State last night.
Absolutely. I thought State would beat Purdue, honestly, because, again, I thought State had some pieces that could score it. You know, I thought Edie and DJ would neutralize each other. But I knew DJ Horn would have a great game simply because of the way Purdue would guard ball screens and their coverage in ball screens. Like, Edie is so big that he got to be in drop coverage, and DJ never misses mid-range pull-ups. Like, that's his shot. He's been that way since he was 11, 12 years old. I thought O'Connell, I'm sorry if I don't have it. McConnell or O'Connell, the point guard from State, I can't think of his name. Yeah, but him getting hurt, I thought that was a major difference because he's the one who keeps them steady.
Right.
He gets everyone easy opportunities and easy shots. They didn't shoot it as well as they normally shot it. They didn't have to shoot it great. They just couldn't shoot it as badly as they shot it, right? Yeah. And so it happens sometimes, man. The hardest thing to do in this game is make a shot. And I thought the platform or the stage might have got to a couple of guys. It's a big stage. It's a big run, man. And you got all these bright lights, and you in a dome with 90,000 people and 10 million watching, like, you know, so sometimes that ball is not going to go in the basket. But they helped Purdue to 63 points. So that was a winning formula for basketball. So I thought Kev did an outstanding job of reigniting that team and, you know, having them go on that 9-game run and that stretch and just reigniting the city of Raleigh and the fan base of NC State. Hats off to him. I thought he did an outstanding job.
Yeah, you saw him out there. I know you were out there coaching the HBCU All-Star team, but, I mean, there were tons of State fans. I mean, it was a total Raleigh, North Carolina takeover of Phoenix. Real quick before I let you go, the two names of the teams were the Ben Wallace team and the Rick Mahorn team. So did your team, you coached the Rick Mahorn team, did you have to goon it up at all, or what? Did you have to take on the style of the guy your team was named after?
We would have knocked everybody out in the first 5 minutes. No, you know what? It was an amazing opportunity. Shout out to Travis Williams. Like, he did an outstanding job of putting that event together. It was a sold-out capacity crowd on CBS Sports.
Yeah.
Clark and Avery Johnson calling the game. So it was first class and big time, you know, from the day we arrived to, you know, the the end of the event. Unfortunately, we came out on the losing end, because it's a guards game, right? And so they just had so many guards, and they made some timely shots, man. But it was a great atmosphere, great experience, and it was an opportunity for me to coach Jadarius Harris and Fred Cleveland from North Carolina Central once again.
LeVelle Moton, you are the absolute best. I can't wait. May 30th and 31st in Raleigh, the Next Up Conference with the one and only LeVelle Moton and his friend, Mike Tomlin, the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Thank you so much, man.
Yes, sir. You the man. Thanks for having me, Adam, always.
You got it. I'll talk to you soon. LeVelle Moton here on The Adam Gold Show.